Welcome to the first Code With Me video for Chapter 11. In this video, we'll go ahead and skip Activity 11.1 just because it's a bunch of question and answers, and we'll jump straight to section or Activity 11.2, which talks about adding CSS. In this case, we're going to be talking about the inline styles in the actual examples. So in the student data files, go ahead and load up Chapter 11 in brackets, and load up the inline styles file and the index page. If you go ahead and load it up in your browser, you'll notice that there's currently no CSS formatting. That's because we're going to add it. So in this activity, the first thing we're going to do is go to the P tag at line 18 and add the CSS style to color the paragraph text red. Now, if you paid close attention in the actual lecture videos, you'll know how we do this. If you didn't, then we're going to show you exactly here. We go to the opening tag, in this case the P tag right here, add a space after it, and add the style attribute. And because we're good developers, we wrap everything in double quotes. I'm going to say color as the property and red as the color, or as the value I should say, ending each declaration with a semicolon. Now if you save, you go to the browser, you refresh, you now notice that this P tag right here is now red, which again is good for specifically identifying which elements get these styles. There are a few cons that we'll get to in just a bit, but let's keep adding some information to this page so that we can stylize the actual content. I'm going to add a second declaration of font size, and we're going to say 24 pixels or px. Once again, we have the semicolon. Save, browser, refresh, and now you can see the text has increased to 24 pixels high. Next, we're going to edit the opening P tag at line 21 and add the same CSS style so that both paragraphs are styled the same. So we're going to go down here to the P tag, and if you notice, here are some characteristics of inline styles. That paragraph right there, we're going to make this look exactly like this. So we're either going to copy and paste, or we're going to retype all of the information we just typed. So style, color, red, font size 24px. Now, in case you're not that good at the keyboard, chances are you may mistype something if you're just retyping the same information. If you copied and pasted, you may copy something along the lines of an extra closing tag or an extra quotation that isn't supposed to be there. So if you forgot that color has two O's, or you forgot the dash between font size, then it's not going to give you the same result as this text right here. So again, this has a con by being prone to errors. But if you did it right, we save, we refresh, and now these two paragraphs have the same styling. So now we're going to modify things a bit and go to page 2. Page 2 right here, we're going to go to line 18 and do the exact same thing. Style, color, red, font size 24px or pixels. Save, go to page 3, do the same thing. Style equals font, color, red, font size 24px. Now, that was a lot of work for just adding color and font size. But if you go to page 2 and page 3 after you save these, you'll notice that these now have the same styles as the previous one. And it's nice to see that we have fine control over these paragraph tags, but it's a little hard to do, especially if we want to update one to say blue versus red. Then we've got to go through and correct every single one. So that's it for inline. Now imagine your client asks you to change the color of all the paragraphs to green. It would be tedious to track down every paragraph on every single page and update the inline style. You might miss one or you might mistype it. Additionally, the identical style has been repeated several times, causing unnecessary code bloat. Basically, this right here is repeated multiple times on multiple pages, and therefore is just adding extra stuff that browsers need to download and makes it that much slower when pages load. Next, let's change gears a bit, go to Activity 11.3, and go to Embed Styles, which is this right here. Actually going to load that up in the browser. Embed Styles, Index. There we go. This looks pretty much exactly the same as the previous one, except we're not dealing with inline styles anymore. So I'm going to close these out and open Embed Styles in my brackets. Now what we're going to do is, after the closing title tag, we're going to add style. And this allows us to embed CSS rules versus having to go down and manually put in the inline CSS. Now what we're doing is we're actually making the CSS rules apply to the whole entire page, which makes things a little easier. Let me show you. So between an opening and closing style tag, we're going to write just basic CSS. So first thing I'm going to do is identify the selector. In this case, it is the P tag. Going to open with curly brace, going to close our curly brace because we're good developers. If brackets automatically adds a closing curly brace for you, just make sure it has the appropriate spacing so that it lines up with the selector of the P tag. Inside this, we're going to say color is green and font size is 30 pixels. Now before you save, I want you to make sure that we have the two styling tags, the closing or the opening, the closing, the P selector, and the two declarations with the values separated by semicolons and new lines. On the page itself, you notice how all the paragraph text is just black. Well, once we save this, file, save, and then refresh, now every single P tag has the same styling. Now, wasn't that much easier than going through and trying to identify every single P tag and write out every single property and value? This just makes things that much easier. And best part of all, it's easier to modify things, such as if we say color pink, save, refresh, and now every P tag is pink, which instead of having to go through and copy and paste and retype and everything else, this makes one rule apply to every element on the page. Now we're going to add a second rule, in which case we're going to add after the P tag, no commas or anything, just new line, H2, close the curly brace, add a new line. We're going to add text transform. Now if you recall, this allows you to modify the capitalization, upper or lower modification of the text itself. In this case, we're going to say uppercase, which is one word. Next, we're also going to say backgrounds, color, orange. And again, separating them by semicolons. So we go to save, we go to the browser, we refresh, and now the H2s are capitalized as in uppercase, and their background color is orange. If you just say background orange, basically it does the exact same thing because background is a shorthand, just like we talked about font being a shorthand with font family, font size, font style, and font weight. In this case, background is just a shorthand, but I would recommend using background color so that you get a general understanding and make sure you know where the associated color is being assigned. Alright, so let's see, we're going to copy lines 6 to 16, so starting with the open style and go down to the closing style. If you want, you can have a different line between the closing curly brace and the new selector. It's completely up to you. So we're going to copy this. We're going to go to page 2, going to add it after the title. Save, page 3, copy, paste, save. So now, if we go to the other pages, you see that the same formatting is applied to the P tags and the H2 tags, which makes it nice and easy. Now, unfortunately, there is a problem. Imagine your client asks you to change the size and color of the paragraphs on the site. So enter the declarations in the P rule on the index page, so the index page right here, and say color is brown, and then the font size is 16px. Well, we save this, we go back to the browser, we refresh, and now the text is brown and has a smaller size. But if we view the page 2 and page 3, it still has the old formatting. And that's because page 2 and page 3 have the embedded styles that we previously copied and pasted. So if you have to go through and update every single page with this one set of rules, it's going to get very tedious and it's going to get very bloated. So we're going to move on to Activity 11.4 and learn external style sheets. So go ahead and close these. Go to External Styles, and in this case, I'm going to also load external styles in my browser. There we go. Now, this makes things a little easier because we're still back to square one. What we're going to do is we're actually going to go up to the title tag, and instead of typing in style, we're not going to do that. We're going to type link. And inside link, we're going to have the hyperlink reference of CSS, main.css, and the relationship of this is a style sheet. Now there is no closing link tag here, so you don't need to worry about that. This is a self-closing tag, so I would recommend just having it as is. Now you'll notice that we are linking to a file, but it doesn't exist yet. So we're going to create the file and the folder. So inside brackets, we're going to right-click on the left sidebar, or if you're on a Mac, Control-click. We're going to say New Folder. Make sure you're inside the external styles folder, otherwise you may not create the folder in the appropriate location. So New Folder, CSS, inside CSS, New File, main.css. Hey, look at that, it opened up a new file for us. So in this case, we're going to say body. And if you want, go ahead and close the brackets for you. Background, color, yellow. Press enter again. If you want, you can save, and you can take a look and refresh the browser and notice that, hey, our background is yellow. Perfect. But also, if you navigate to the different pages, well, we haven't added the link yet, but we will. So keep going with the code for right now. Going to add P, border 1px, and this one has multiple values, solid, and black. And the font size of 26 pixels. And now this should apply to every P tag on the page. There we go. They have borders and they increase in size. Good. Now let's link the remaining pages. We don't need to worry about copying and pasting the CSS because once we go into the index file and copy and paste this link, copy, go to page 2, insert new line under title, save, page 3, new line, save. Now, page 2 and page 3 now have the same CSS. Now this is a lot easier. But let's actually put this to the test. Let's say that we want to modify a few things. For example, we want to modify the P tag and delete the border declaration and add a background color and change the text color. Ugh, that's a lot of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete border. We're going to say background color black. Going to say color white so that there's a good contrast. And if brackets automatically taps things over for you, you can correct it, not a problem. And font size 26 pixels, that's fine. We go to File, we go to Save, we refresh, and we notice that the text has now been updated. But wait, this isn't the last thing. If we go to page 2, this same thing happens. Page 3, this same thing happens. Which means that this single file is controlling all of the pages that it is linked to with the actual link tag right here. Because we're linking the CSS and the main CSS file inside there as the style sheet for the page. No need to copy and paste all this information because we're basically allowing this set of rules to apply itself to the whole entire site. That's it for this video. In the next video, we'll talk more about stylizing text and taking everything that was talked about in the lecture and putting it to use. If you have any questions about this or anything in Chapter 11, please send me an email or hit me up on Twitter and I'll get back to you with the best possible answer.